In this tutorial, I'm going to take a plain polygon cube and turn it into a tablecloth. So I've started out with a simple poly cube. I'm going to delete the bottom. And then I'm going to go to my vertices. I'm going to flare it out a bit. And maybe make it a little shallower. So there's the basic shape I'm going to start with. I'm going to return to my object mode. I'm going to add two tools to my shelf up here that I'll be using. So I'll hold down Control Shift, and I'm going to go to Surfaces, and I'm going to choose SculptGeomitry tool, and then I'm going to go to Mesh Tools and Insert Edge Loop. So in the process, I'm going to be using my Proxies 1 and 3 as well. So I'm going to hit 3 on the keyboard. It's really kind of more of like a half of an egg at this point. I'll return back to my geometry. And now I'm going to get my edge loop tool, and I'm going to start to split this up. And I'm just adding a few lines initially, being mindful of my CPU usage. Less is better. Once again, I'll hit 3 on the keyboard, and I'm getting close, but I'm losing the integrity of the corners where there would probably be a table under this. So I'll go back to 1, and I'll take my edge loop tool once again. Keyboard quick is G, and I'll start to introduce the edges. Now the closer these edges are introduced to the originals, the more it will hold up the integrity. So I'm going to split it there, and on all the corners. If I would hit 3 on the keyboard, you can see that now I've maintained those corners. Back to 1. I'll go back to my object mode, and I'm going to run one level of smooth on this. I'll hold down the space bar, and I'll go to Mesh, and I'll choose Smooth. Now I've got a number of added polygon faces that are going to let me put the wavy kind of effect on this so it looks like a tablecloth draped over a table. I'm going to return to my object mode. Being mindful of my CPU usage, I'm going to click on my Delete by Type History button here. Now I'm going to go up to the icon for the SculptGeomitry tool, this little brush icon. I'll double click on it, and it will introduce a menu that will allow me to make changes to the brush that you now probably see on your viewport. So the radius is the size of the brush, and the opacity is the amount at which it will push or pull on my geometry to shape it the way I would like. And that's this slider bar here. So I'm going to put it about halfway, and I'm going to make the radius 1. And if I go down to where it says Operation Sculpt Parameters, you'll see a number of these icons. These are all variations on what the brush will do to your geometry. We're going to be using these first two, and they do a pretty handy job for what you'll need. You can always experiment with these if you wish. First one is set, and you'll see there's a red arrow pulling a bit of the sphere away, which means it'll pull my geometry. So I'm going to leave it as such. And the other thing you really need to remember is that this brush, you have to brush directly on those edges. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll start here, and you can see it's starting to pull that edge down. Now I don't want to affect the top too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the radius of my brush. I'll make it much smaller. I made about, well, I think I'll make it 0.4. And I'll start a little lower on the sides. And if I pull every other one, I can go in and start to introduce that wave that you would get in a tablecloth. Now, by setting the opacity low, you have the option of gradually building that up like so. And what I'll usually do as I brush, I'll alternate back and forth between 1 and 3 on my keyboard to see what it actually looks like. So you can see this will do a pretty respectable job. Now if I wanted to, I could go and I could push back if I wanted using this one, or I can kind of use this to accentuate the pull and push I've got here. So it's something you'll want to experiment with.